Welcome to Tommi Talks. This is episode 8. Today we are going to talk about Python and something really cool new from OpenAI called Code Interpreter. So a little recap on what we released about 2 weeks ago. Completely new framework for Python automations. It builds on what we've already had. So you remember you can build Python automations and you can build robot framework-based automations on our platform. But there's been some things where you kind of miss out on features if you chose to build 100% on Python. What we wanted to do is to bring Python on par with building with Robot Framework. There's 4 things coming with this release, and we are building on top of this continuously. So a lot of has happened since 2 weeks ago already. So we've been releasing updates and additional features. The new @dash decorator means that you can get rid of some of the boilerplate code that you had. It's really easy to identify which tasks become steps in your unattended processes. The second update, and this is probably the one that we've been asked the most, is to bring the beautiful and amazing visual and auto-generated logs from Robot Framework also to Python. So those developers working on Python, they were missing out on this feature. Third, we started building a new namespace for the automation libraries. It's called Robocorp, and it will incorporate very Pythonic way of building robots. So it's building on top of what we already have with RPA framework, which keeps on developing, and you can keep on using RPA framework. But the Robocorp libraries are specific for Python. They're made for Python developers. They're easy to use. They tackle some of the challenges that are specific to Python only. And last but not least, the new Python templates. They're available today from VS Code, and you can see them in a second. Let's put this into practice with OpenAI's new GPT-4 Code Interpreter. What it does is that you can describe tasks, and it works really well with, for example, data visualization, data cleaning related tasks, and it actually generates you Python code on the fly. We can drop it to a Robocorp project. We will instantly have bots running. So let's see how it works. I'm going to choose this, but before that, let's create a project on Robocorp. I'm in an empty folder, and I'm going to open Visual Studio Code. Here we are, empty folder. Let's create a new robot. Here you can see the new Python templates: minimal, browser automation with Playwright, producer consumer using the work item system, allowing parallel execution in control room and cloud, and then assistant AI chat, which shows the usage of OpenAI's API in a bot. We're going to pick the minimal and use the workspace folder. So even though we're working on Python only, you still have the regular way of controlling your dependencies, and you have your regular way of defining the robot. So the robot YAML, conda YAML still exists. Here you can see the new @task decorator. So this works as an entry point. So this method is an entry point that the Robocorp platform identifies as a task in, for example, control room. So let's talk about the use case. I have a file that I'm going to add here in my project as a work item. Let's say this is a data in. That's my work item, and it's going to be file only. And the file's name is taxi dataset, and it's 50,000 rows. Dataset contains 50,000 taxi trips, I think in Portugal, and it's freely available. I can post a link in the description of the video. Let's imagine that we need to generate a weekly report based on the raw CSV file that we have, a typical process. So we need to read the data in, we need to maybe clean up some things in it, and then we want to generate a chart or two, put it in the PDF file and send forward. That's going to be our process. It would take a couple of hours to do all that because I don't use these tools on a daily basis, like let's say pandas and whatnot for create and Seaborn and libraries in Python made for generating reports. So GPT-4 and OpenAI recently released something called Code Interpreter, which I have enabled here. It's still rolling out, so if you don't see it in your account, don't worry, it will come. And it's only for paid users. What it does is that it allows you to give tasks that actually generate code. So code something that you can then repeat. So in this case, we will pull it out from OpenAI, put it into our robot, and be happy with it. Let's try. So you start by adding a file. I'm going to put the same file as we had in our input work item. Clean the non-values. Then generate 2 charts, time series for taxi rides per hour of day, and a column chart for rides per call type. So what we see OpenAI doing is that it breaks it into steps like understand the data, generate chart, put them in the PDF. It will take a while, so let's just fast forward a bit. So now we're in the situation where everything is done and it gave us a taxi ride charge PDF file, which I'm gonna just download and check that it looks correct. Oh, it looks beautiful. We're happy with that. The code here is broken into small pieces, like in different steps. In order to take it to our robot, let's take it away from here. So we can ask, please give all the code in one piece. I'm going to start by just grabbing the imports from here and placing them into our project. We're going to grab the entire code and we can put it into our project. So we replace the minimal task here with everything that we got. Just indent it properly. And let's change the name of the task to be generate report. Now it takes the file from a physical static directory. So what we also need to do is that we need to pull it from the actual work item. So to make it easy, I'll just wrap everything into a work item iterator. And I also need to import from Robocorp. Import work items, and I think I need a vault later. So for each work item, we take a file, if it exists, and put it in the path. So now we can indent this again a bit more. So now it's all in the for loop. And now, because we did get path from the work item, we replace this with the path. And let's also say that we want to save the report path always just this and use report path and put that into quotes. So now we should have everything running. This code, when ran, should take a test work item input, take this file, and generate the PDF. Let's try it out for the first time. Using the input work item. And it's you can see that it's collecting the tasks, running the generate report, the status is pass, and it generates the log HTML file. And we can open that file. And you can see the beautiful new Python only. And you can see the beautiful new task log that comes from the Python run as well. So you can see the task was generate report. We iterated the work items for each. did these steps. You can see the inputs of or arguments of all of the steps. And if you want to control it by yourself, there's really easy ways of suppressing the logging for those parts that you don't want to see in your log. So, for example, dealing with any sensitive data, you can just avoid logging that part. But you obviously don't want to run this only on your own computer. You want this to run in production. And production can be in your on-prem environment, or it can be in cloud. So what can you do next? You can take either through version control natively on VS Code, or you can just upload the robot to the control room. And I've done this before. I just want to show you quickly how it looks like in the control room environment when everything is ready and done. So I have pre-created the weekly report generator process, so unattended process. It only has one step, which is the do generation. And I've run a couple of tests, one failing, one working. This is similar. It might use a little bit different chart generation code, but it's very much the same. So what the control room gives you is a secure orchestration environment for the Python automations. You can generate the bots however you want, whether it's a code generation, write them yourself, but you can orchestrate them here. You can use parallel processing, you can use this secure vault, asset storage, and a plentiful of integrations to other systems. Let's recap. So we were looking at the updates in the Python automations, the new task decorator, we were looking at the new Robocorp libraries, we were looking at the VS Code templates, and the new output log format that you also now get for Python automations. And then we were looking at the new capabilities of OpenAI's Code Interpreter, currently only available for paid users, meaning that you can generate big parts of your bot code. Next time, we're going to dig deeper into code generation. We recently released something called Remark. Go check the blog post already now. The next episode of Tommi Talks will only be talking about the Remark code generation that is Robocorp specific. So not generic as we were looking at the OpenAI, but something that really knows Robocorp automations deeply and acts as a senior developer alongside all the Robocorp developers. Until then, have fun. See you soon.